So here we are. Something looks different. Kevin, you want to tell me what's going on here?
Hey, boss, took care of that problem for you.
I don't know what problem you're talking about.
You won't be hearing from him again.
Uh-oh. Who's him?
Adam took his ass to the train station.
That doesn't sound good.
You know, that 113 to 106 beatdown I put on him. He ain't coming back from that. You won't hear from him again.
Oh, living in the past.
So, in the chat, running his mouth, just figured somebody need to take care of it, so I did it for you. You don't have to worry about him anymore.
Okay. I wasn't worried. What are you drinking there, Kevin? Or
Coors
whatever.
Banquet beer. That's the official beer of Yellowstone, Dave. I don't know if you know that or not. Here on the ranch, that's what we drink. So, what are you doing? You got a podcast to do?
I think we should start.
Oh, all right. Give me a second.
This was a tough bit for me because I don't know Yellowstone stuff.
Oh.
Isn't
I gave you homework. I told you go and binge watch the first 4 seasons, and then we would do this, and then you'd be
Does
ready.
it have that guy from Tin Cup in it?
Yes, it does. Yeah. Oh, hey, let me take these off. Dave, welcome to the podcast. How's it going? Hey, I wasn't paying attention this past week. What happened in fantasy?
There were some winners and there were some losers.
All right, well, let's get to the winners. Who do you have for your Miller Time Team of the Week?
Let's go to week 10 here. And let's go down the list. A lot of good. Who am I kidding? It's you. What? It's you. You beat Adam by a score of 113.7 to 106.8. Like,
I'm touched, Dave.
You jumped yourself up to second place. That's worth something in my book.
I was in second place going into the week.
Yeah, well, you kept it then.
I kept it. I did. Hey, the top 4 teams all won.
Yeah, that seems to be there's a lot of top teams winning, bottom teams losing, and then a couple middle people back and forth, win-loss.
Well, so I was going to ask you. I appreciate it, Dave. Thank you for the Miller Time Team of the Week. Maybe when I got my first win, you thought about it last year. I don't know if I received it or not. I didn't deserve it because I was that bad. But I think that Adam even acknowledged it. Like, if you're gonna talk as much crap as I do, you know what I mean, and then to show up and back it up, like, that's a good thing, right?
You were kind of setting yourself for either the Miller Time Team of the Week or the Hillbilly.
Yeah.
Like, because if you would have lost after all this nonsense, you'd have to give it to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. But so what I was going to ask you, because I do appreciate it, I think that, but could a team get the Miller Time Team of the Week and also receive the Hillbilly of the Week in the same week? Because I got a team that I was thinking might be deserving of both. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I got an idea. I think anything's possible at this point. I've given it to a losing team before.
Well, I was just thinking that that Brian, with the ballsy move of saying, you know what, Josh, I don't even have to start a quarterback and a defense against you. You're that bad. Like,
I kind of wish he would have kept silent because we could have thought this was a ballsy move, but it turns out he just was distracted by stuff and didn't pay attention.
But isn't it the most Brian thing in the world to drop into chat like at 11:30 at night on a Monday night and just be like, "Oh, hey, I like it," because, like, I think in the chat and with the podcast there seems to be a thought that, like, maybe there's only 4 of us that are living in this universe and nobody else is aware of anything. And then I'll, like, find it pleasantly surprising that like Brian or Ed or Josh or Brennan will come in and be like, oh no, we've been watching the whole time, or we've been following along. We just don't say anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of thought like he kind of blew it, once he didn't pull Murray out, it was too late, but he had all the way up until like, Baltimore was on bye, so he could have switched out of defense all the way into, the light whenever, but he either chose not to, or it was all the way done by the time he figured any of this out.
And he might have, I don't know, he might have looked at it and thought, man, I don't want to drop anybody, and I got a chance to win even without making any kind of move or whatever. So, but
I really didn't think that they would. I thought Sanders would get 9 or 10 points. I thought he'd get a touchdown or some.
So the hillbilly of the week.
Okay.
It goes to Josh, because if you're going to get beat, now I know Bengals were on bye, so that's a major part of his team. But if you're going to get beat by a team that benches their quarterback and defense, man, that's an all-time low. Now we've got some statistics that I'm going to dive into here in a second that may shed some light on Josh's problems.
And it was I mean, you hate to say must win, but he needed, that was a gift to get back into the playoff hunt.
4-6 sounds a whole lot better than 3-7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, I was, you'd give me an assignment, and we'll get to that in a minute, but as part of that, I went through kind of looking over the next 4 weeks and schedules, and it's guesswork, but it seems like there's a lot of teams that could end up 7-7, 8-6.
Yeah. And we talked about last week that plateau, like a 500, right? Like you got to at least be there.
I think even the 9th place team will end 7-7.
Yeah.
And so I don't think 6,
and it'll be a points differential thing probably. Yeah.
So I don't think agree. 6 wins gets you, which means people like, Josh, that are sitting at 3-7, they have to win out.
Yeah.
Just to get to 7-7.
Yeah. So let's just jump through. We talked. So that's Josh and Brian. If you're not paying attention, Brian had 2 players that didn't end up playing. He didn't change his lineup. He ended up getting the win anyway. Didn't matter. That's a huge win for him because he's had some tough losses. So to be able to get that one, be 6-4 with the points he has. He's tailed off a little bit here last couple of weeks, but still he's right up there with points. So that's a big win for him. Lee gets the win over Ed, who had been pretty hot, doing pretty well. And that was a big win for Lee. And I'll tell you why, is because he had rattled off 6 in a row. And then he had a dud of a week, and it had been really easy to be like, oh, Lee's just going to, maybe. But he righted the ship right away. I think that's important. Don't you? Like, you start rattling off 2 losses in a row. It took him so much work to get himself up there.
Yeah.
And so to have a bounce back game, to score over 100, to beat the hot Ed team, I think that was a big win for Lee. You agree?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it puts that much, pressure on, Junior didn't have much pressure, but now he's got 2 teams that could, that are a win away, right? Like,
and Junior, he's just living right. Okay, so a week ago, High Points gets all the praise for just like putting up 140 plus. This week he plays Danny. If Danny was going to steal a win, much like Green Bay Packers going in and beating Dallas, right? This was like could have been a gift for Danny.
Or Washington beating Philly.
Could have been a gift for Danny. Junior only scores 88.6, and Danny unfortunately just couldn't get there. He, 64.2. That's the low for the league on this week, and so just no chance to. Junior really never was threatened there.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what went wrong, and it wasn't really. I mean, Brady's not the Brady of old. He's not getting in the 30s. 20 is a good score for him, but Eckler. Like, I thought of all weeks when, both William, like all the they were talking about all week, like there's no wide receivers. So he could have easily scored 26. He's done it before, and he would have been right there,
Yeah. So next we got Vote Flex versus Discount Double Check. Man, what a huge win for Travis.
Yeah.
Rennie, respectable, almost got to 100. But Travis, 118.2. Hit. I don't want to dive too much into his score because I want to talk about that in a segment we got coming up. But he's high points for the week, and puts himself right back. I mean, we had counted Travis out.
Yeah.
Both of us, right? We looked at the top 10 teams, and he was in 8th place, and we said who's going to be out and who's going to be in, and I think both of us were like, oh, Travis he was tanking, and 2 out of the last 3 weeks he gets high points.
Yeah.
His team seems to be finding points where before they couldn't score at all. So, man, look out for Travis.
We were talking like just 4 or 5 weeks in when he had some wins, but he had no points. And we're like, man, just a few losses and he's going to be dangling on the end. And he was, but now he's pushed himself with 2 out of 3 weeks getting high points. Yeah. But I pointed out in my write-up that he's still the 3rd lowest overall score.
So we'll get to that because I posted something, a teaser out there, right? We'll get to to some of this for him in a second. But then we've got yourself. Easy work of the Sundance Kid. So 103 to 80. I know that, it was kind of, you felt maybe like it wasn't closer than maybe what it seemed, but
yeah, I mean, you get 40 points from a quarterback. That's a 20-point difference that, you know, that was the difference right there. I mean, I had some holes. I had a 0 and I had a 2. I mean,
and for Brennan, it was a must win. Yeah. I mean, he just, it's tough, like to feel like that some of these teams are going to battle back and to get themselves there. I mean, it really is, between Ed, Travis, yourself, probably battling to see who's going to hold on to that 8th place. I just don't see Brennan or Josh.
Well, like I said, they pretty much have to win out just to get to 7. And I don't know if they can because I don't remember if they play each other, but if they do, then they can't win out. Both of them can't.
Yeah. And then we mentioned before, I played Adam, and I mean, kudos to him, close. Dude. It was close game. It could have went either way. If you watched Monday night, you know that his guy had a couple. I mean, he's got the ball laying on his chest. Yeah. He can't pull it in. That's game changer, right?
6 points.
I mean, yeah, he's a
6 points and a couple yardage. That's all he needed.
Yeah, he's a touchdown away from probably from pulling the win out. And I'll tell you, that would have been a gut punch for me. Like to score 113, to talk that much crap, that much hype, that much build up, and to score all of it early and then just have to watch it get eroded away, right? And I mean,
he had
40 from Mahomes, and none of them go to Juju because he goes out because of a concussion. Like that was tough for me, but. He had his running back saved me.
Yeah. I thought McLaren was going to get it with yardage. He had a PI call too that was like a bomb that would have been, if he caught it, if he wasn't pass interfered, he probably would have caught it. That would have been another 5 points.
Yeah. 8 catches, 128 yards from a team that should not be throwing that much on Philly.
Yeah.
Crazy. So, but I will take the win. And just if you're keeping score at home, since we've started the matchup spotlight,
we started it.
Yeah, the Smithereens. We're 3-3. So, do you what? So
you're going to take a break this week, right?
What do you think is going to happen Friday, Dave? No reason to do that, right?
You wouldn't dare do it with your podcast mate, would you?
Oh, I called into New York to get writers to help me with the content for this week's. So it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it. Should be fun. Yeah, I'm going to keep rolling with it, Dave. So,
man.
Hey, don't forget. It is an unbiased deep dive into a marquee matchup.
I don't think you've been close on your scores. The wins, yes, but not the scores. The overall scores, you've been way off.
Hey, it's only a matter of time. We're going to get the win and the score right.
Okay.
So, All right, Dave. You want to do your segment or my segment first?
I don't think we need to spend as much time on mine, so we can do it first.
Okay. So I gave Dave a task based on a question that was bubbling up in chat from Adam, kind of spearheaded it. He said, we were talking about, basically it kind of came up like that, Junior's the favorite to win the league. He's got a points advantage and a win total advantage. Now, anything could happen over the next 4 weeks, but he's the betting favorite, if you will, to win the league. And but Adam said $20 says he doesn't win the championship, and so he had no takers, because there's only 4 of us that live in the chat. But I said, that I'd like to see a handicapping of like who has the best odds to win the championship. Yeah. And so I called you earlier and said, hey, for the podcast, do you think that you could handicap the league championship? So that means winning the playoff, not winning the regular season, but winning the actual championship. At the end of it, who's going to go home with all the money? And so you handicapped it for me. We didn't even know what handicapping meant, so you did a deep dive and tried to figure it out.
I sent you a message. I'll tell all 3 other people that are listening that I probably, after reading about the difference between odds and probability and how they're not the same thing, and how, trying to figure out whether a team's going to win is different than putting an odds down, and then the odds change because like the whole point of like the number odds is
the betting,
is
right?
To start betting, and then once betting starts, the odds change because the people that set them, they want to make money, so they move them.
Yeah.
Which has nothing to do with probability. So if you really think that, Team A is going to win based on criteria, the odds might change because some numbskull puts down $1 billion bet, on the other way.
Mattress Larry bets heavy on.
Exactly. So because that got me, so I was thinking like, all right, say a team is like, minus 5,000 to win, but that
means they're the heavy favorite.
Yeah, and so some guy's brother, he's on the other team, and so he puts a ton of money on the underdog. It can make the line move.
It can sway the move,
even though everybody
knows
the probability doesn't change.
Right.
Just the odds change.
But the odds changed. So what did you come up with? Did you do odds or probability?
So I tried to figure out, and I didn't really find anything out there that teaches you how to set a line.
Yeah.
Like it's people in Vegas that know that.
I will say,
Rennie and Adam know how.
I was going to say, we missed out on an opportunity to lean into our weaknesses and call in for some help. We could have called Rennie and Adam, and they could have done this segment in their sleep. But this is this is the podcast way. We're going to just fumble through it. We're going to talk about nonsense, and I love it. So thank you for doing it. Let's reveal it.
I figured, all right, how do I even start? And so to start, I had to come up with which 8 teams are actually going to be in the playoffs.
Okay.
Because their odds are going to. Their odds are going to be better.
Yeah.
Their odds are going to be better. Now, the other ones, they're not mathematically eliminated at this point, so I did set some odds for them. Yep. But, they have to – the chances of them getting to the playoffs aren't very good. So the chances of them winning are astronomically different than the 8 teams that I have. Really 9, 8 or 9, that might make it. So then I went through the rest of these next 4 weeks and looked at schedules. And oddly enough, me – you and Lee are unless I'm missing something, are the only ones that play we only play teams that are in the playoff hunt. Based on,
so that's a disadvantage for us.
Yeah, based on Ed and above, like the top 9. Like, if you're saying that, I kind of ruled out the teams that we already mentioned, Josh Brennan, that have to win out just to get to 7-7. So so we play, so we have a harder schedule. So there's some other teams that have a little bit easier theoretically schedule, and so I came up with, like I mentioned, a lot of possible 7-7s, 8-6s. Junior would have to, he could just, go even and still get to 10 wins.
Right.
I feel like Lee has a pretty good shot at getting to 9. You're based on schedule is 8 or 9, So I think Lee has a little better chance of getting to 9 than you. But once you get to the playoffs and you got 1 through 8, everything starts fresh.
Right.
And then you got to think about, all right, the teams that get to 7 and 8 sometimes have gotten really good to get there.
Yeah.
They're not, or
yeah,
they're
like
limping down.
I mean, just based off the last 3 weeks, I don't know that somebody be like, oh, I got Travis, right? He's got 200-point weeks in the last 3, and so that may be dangerous.
Yeah. So then I just kind of played it out that way, and so I don't know if we want to just list them. Did you have I guess we've tried the whole posting thing.
We're never screen sharing again.
So
you want to start from the bottom or the top?
We'll start the bottom. Okay. I got Danny at plus 8,000.
So does that mean that $100 bet gets me an $8,000 return or an $800 return?
It would be 8,000.
A $100 bet gets me $8,000.
Yeah,
I believe that's right.
Because you have to put $100 down to get that number.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that makes sense.
So right now, if Adam was like, "Hey," I'd be like, "Hey, I'm going to bet you $100 Danny wins the championship," and he'd be like, "Sold."
Yeah.
My $100 bet, if Adam was going to be Vegas, he'd pay me back $8,000.
And the odds are so long because he's probably not even going to be in it.
He won't even make the playoffs. Yep.
So then I got Josh at plus 6,000. I got Brennan at plus 4, which is probably pretty, that's still pretty tough. And then we got Travis at 1,200.
Now that's a bet where I'm like, maybe I would place that.
Yeah, I mean, I think
a dollar gets me, or $10 gets me $120.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would be tempted to place it on anybody,
Yeah.
But
you drive to Indiana to place $10 on Travis?
Yeah, well, some of it is Travis's schedule.
He's got a tough schedule.
I put him at 1,200 mainly because he might not even make it.
Right. He's only at 500. As much as we've been talking him up, he's still only at 500.
And if he goes 7 and 7 and doesn't get enough points, to make up, then he's
and I will tell you, based on the Smithereens new math equation, he's ranked really low. So we'll get to that.
So then we have Ed at plus 1,000, pretty close, and because he's kind of dangling as well. Then I'm at plus 800 because I kind of think that those two are going to fight out for the eighth spot. But if I can just steal 2 out of the next, couple wins, even though I'm playing some tough people, if I can just get in, and then from there it kind of goes out. It's Rennie at plus 750, you at plus 700.
So you penalize me because I got a tough schedule.
Yeah. Plus
and I'm not the highest on points either.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just, and some of it is when I went through what I figured out, the possible 1 through 8, who they play,
the matchups. The
matchups, because
and
because whoever, because
I'm only asking because who's going to ask. Adam's going to ask
because I have you at either 4 or 5, and so whoever is at 4 and 5 has to play the winner of 1 and 8, and if it's Junior and he's still doing really good, then that's a tough win.
I won't talk about the fact that you had me at 4 or 5 while I'm sitting at 2 and I play you this week. Okay, we'll just skip right over that
it's
part.
A tough
okay?
schedule. Did I mention that part?
I mean, not this week. It's easier this week.
Yeah, this week's cake.
Yeah.
Then I got Adam at plus 50, Lee at plus 550, Lee at 500, Junior at plus 450, Brian at plus 400. So I got Brian with the best odds.
Yeah, and here it is. So like from the very beginning, we've been talking up Brian's team, right? His wins don't match up with his the kind of like what we feel like is the scariness of having to face him any given week. Obviously, he had a dud of a week this past week, but he also didn't start 2 people. And so who knows? But if Brian can stay engaged and Brian has the kind of success that he's had in the past as far as points go,
and he can absorb some injuries too. He's got a
Yeah, he's got
insertable running backs, or at least one, and he's got two really good starters. But if one of them happen to get hurt, he's got somebody in place, and he's going to get Chase back, Jamar Chase, and he's got Waddle, Chase, Hopkins, and he's got a couple other. I mean, he's got a lot to pick from.
So your segment and my segment go hand in hand. Okay. So you handicapped who's going to win the championship. Yeah. You feel like right now, all things equal, Brian probably has the best chance to win the championship based on his team makeup, his upcoming schedule, and just like, the matchup that he would have in the playoffs if he ends up where you think he's going to. So
yeah, I mean, because really, like I said, you're not trying to get to Junior. It doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah.
He's going to be in, and if he's in, he's going to be tough to beat.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's going to be tougher to beat than anybody else.
Yeah. Okay. So I did a segment all on my own. Okay. And I shared with you a little. Did I tell you a little bit about what it was?
A touch, and then you posted that thing.
Yeah. So I went through. You and I have talked, and I feel like it's kind of like maybe known if you pay attention that on any given week, if you can get to 100, your odds of winning increase tremendously, right? Like that's kind of a magic number, right? You feel pretty good, okay? So much so that there have only been, so there's been 120 games between all of us. Do I have that right so far?
10 times.
Or no, 60. Is that right? 60 games?
60 makes sense.
Yeah,
10 weeks.
There's
6 games
10
each
weeks.
week. There's been 10 weeks. There we go. We're mathing right now.
No. I was like, okay. So there's been 60 matchups. Okay. Only 8 times out of those 60, which I think is like 13.3% or something like that. Only 8 times during those matchups has a team scored 100 points or more and lost.
Really?
So you got an 87% chance of winning if you score 100 points or more.
Wow.
I mean, this is the kind of stuff I'm trying to get Adam to come back for. He would like that, right? He wants to know that. Hey,
he probably already knows it.
How would you like to know this?
All right.
That out of all of those 8 losses,
okay,
Adam has 3 of them.
Oh, ouch. Is he leading in points against?
I don't know. I didn't look at that specifically. You can pull that up real quick.
No, he's not. It's Brian of all people. Oh,
okay.
No, it's not. It's Brennan.
Okay.
By far. Well, not by far. Yeah, by quite a bit.
All right. So, well, I'm going to go through how we are ranked, not power rankings or anything like that. This is how we are in the rankings. Okay. Junior 7 times has scored. He's the most. Okay. 7 times has scored 100 points or more. 6 of them consecutively. Not now. The streak got broken, but he had 6 in a row, and he has 1 loss where he scored 100 and lost. Okay.
Okay.
And so that's the most. Junior is the most, and so he sat on top of my RPI rating. He has 7 100-point games. You win 87% of the games that you play when you score 100 points. He has only 1 loss when he scored 100 or more. That puts him top. Okay.
Yeah.
In second place is me, right? In the standings, I have 5 100-point games, and I have 1 loss where I scored 100. I scored exactly 100 in week 2, maybe, and I lost. So I'm right in the middle there because my in the RPI, I ranked it off of how many 100-point games do you have, and then if you were tied, who has the most overall points. And so, and we'll get to that more in a second. So show me your TDs, Lee. 5 games this season where he scored 100 points or more. 4 came during his 6-game winning streak. He has not lost any of his games where he scored at least 100. Okay. Heim Time Industries is in second place in the RPI ranking because he has 6 100-point games, but guess what? He's lost 2 of them.
Wow.
Which maybe going into it, I thought maybe he had lost even more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he's
some of those ones we remember weren't necessarily above 100. They were just tough beats.
Tough beats. Yep, exactly right. Discount Double Check has only had 100 points or more 4 times. And so when he's kind of wavering down towards the bottom, he scored a lot of his points early on in the season, and he has not done as well. Is he on a 3-game losing streak right now?
3-game bender, yeah.
3-game bender. But if he scores 100 points or more, he's 100%. He hasn't lost any games where he scored 100 or more. Okay. Welcome to the Red Kingdom. You want to talk about tough? He's scored 100 points or more 5 times. He's lost 3 out of 5.
Wow.
So
it's almost like people just want to
they just get up for him. You know what I mean? Like
put their best team in, do some research that week, stuff like that.
So I mean, that's just tough. But the good news for him is that he's got a lot of points scored. He has his record is not so low that he's in danger of missing the playoffs, and he scores a lot of points. Okay, so I think that would.
So by your probability predictions, the wins will come if you just keep
and
getting above.
It's what put. So we've got total. We've got 4 teams that have scored 100 points 5 times. Okay, there's 4 teams. Adam sits at the top of that list with the most points scored. That's why he's 3rd in our power in my RPI ranking.
Man, I've only scored 100.
Rat Trappers, you've got it 5 times.
Oh, I have. Okay.
And you have 1 loss. 5 times, 1 loss. Now we're getting into the lower teams. Okay. Would you believe that VoteFlex has scored 100 points or more 2 times, and both of those times that he's done it, guess what he's got?
He got high points.
He's got high points. So good things happen. And from here on out, from here below, no team has lost a game where they've scored 100 points or more.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So Flex 2 for 2 high points. So if I could tell you something, Travis, if you're watching this, score 100 points because you're likely to get high points and you're almost guaranteed to win. Okay. Lumberjacks has scored 100 points or more 3 times. Sundance Kid 3 times. Joe Burr scored 100 points. Guess when?
Against
Week 1.
Week 1.
Week 1.
It's been a while.
And nonsense.
I guess that explains the 3 wins.
And our boy Danny, guess how many 100-point games he has?
1. 0.
Goose egg. Closest coming in week 5. 98.6 to 101.3 loss to Lee, I believe.
Wow.
That's a bad beat.
So that 100 benchmark is pretty important. So then, I think we talked about that.
Well, so imagine this:
about constructing a lineup, and trying to get, 20 out of a quarterback, 15 or 12 out of running back spot. You work your way down to where you want the averages of these positions to get to 100.
Yeah. So help me. I've been drinking. Okay. So let's take Adam out of it. How many matchups have we had if Adam's team didn't exist, if Adam doesn't exist in there? So then it's well,
wouldn't you have to take out of his opponent too?
Yeah, so his opponent, we'll take out all those matchups. So how many does that take out? So out of our 60, that now we got 50. 10 weeks.
1 less. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so you have the rest of the league. So my point is, okay, I'd said did I say 86.6% chance of winning, okay, if you score 100 points or more. If we take Adam out of it, it's a 90% chance of winning for the league. The league wins at 90% clip when they score 100 points or more if you get Adam out of there. That maybe isn't perfect just based on because we have to take this, but like you understand, like Adam owns the majority of the 100% of the 100-point losses.
Yeah. Wow. And I mean, and that's just
so out of all the matchups, remove Adam, only 5 times has a team lost when they've scored 100 points or more.
Yeah. So this does that cover most of what you? I don't want to cut you off.
Yeah, no, that's it. Yeah.
So that kind of brings me back to, I think we brought this up once last year, and it always comes up when we think about, man, if I just played somebody else. But if you start going down that road, then you almost have to like, all right, well, what if I didn't play anybody in particular? Is that better?
Right.
And we talked about earlier in the season, like, whether when you're making out your lineup, whether you look at the other team or not and making decisions based on that. Some people do, some people don't. Sometimes it might factor in. Sometimes
I mean, I don't know that anybody else does. I mean, you pay attention a little bit to the projection. Be like, man, I'm projected to score 98. He's projected to score 106. Where am I low? Is there somebody else I could put in, or is there somebody I could pick up, or is my defense?
I'm talking more specifically like nuance of, oh, he's got this quarterback in, maybe I won't start that defense against them.
Oh, I definitely do that.
Or I have a wide receiver on the same team. I think his guy's going to get more of the catches. Maybe I'll swap out somebody else.
Yeah.
Take a chance.
Well, and I definitely look at, like this week, I kind of teased out and it didn't end up being to fruition. Like he's got Mahomes and I've got Juju. Like I want to capture as many of those points as I can.
So there is some of that going on. So is there enough of that to where you'd feel like you lost out if you just said, man, I wish I didn't have to, if I didn't play so-and-so? Because the alternative would be there's leagues that you can set up to where every week, like a 12-team league, the 6 highest point winners or the 6 highest scores get a win, the 6 lowest scores get a loss. So you don't play anybody in particular. You just have to be at least top 6 in scoring. Yep. And then that's how your win-loss goes. And so, you can't complain about who you played, because if you played
the field.
You beat 6 people, then you're in the top, you beat 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You don't have to beat any one person. You don't have to beat the people that got more than you. You just have to beat the people that got less. So that would totally change things as far as some of the cheap wins you get.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get
it'd be interesting. You didn't do this. I haven't done this, but to go through and tabulate like where everybody would be right now if we were on that system.
And so careful what you wish for, because you wouldn't get it. You would almost have to get 100. Because you wouldn't get any cheap wins. No. You wouldn't get a somebody that just blew up. That person would lose for sure, but so would you.
But the interesting. So
would you even want that? That's what I've like. My point is, like, we sometimes are like, man, if I would have just played 3 other teams, I would have won. But if you throw all that nuance out of the randomness of playing, of what the schedule is and all that. I mean, it sounds good on paper, but it would reward people that are consistently good, and wouldn't penalize. Like Brian would be top. He wouldn't have as much to worry about. He wouldn't have got any of those losses when he was scoring a bunch of points. So I don't know if I would never want to give up. Pretty much a traditionalist about we like the league the way it is, and we're reluctant to change some things. But if I were to join another one, it'd be an interesting, way to do it, because then you wouldn't have anything to you wouldn't have anything to fall back on. When you lose, you couldn't say, I should have played somebody else.
Yeah, I'm just going through, and you were talking about that. So we said there's been math? There's been 60 matchups.
Okay.
Right. And so out of those 60 matchups, 46 teams have scored 100 points or more. So 100 points has been scored 46 times. Like,
I mean, it's very possible that the same 6 teams would be low. Maybe the rankings would be pretty similar.
Well, if I had to guess, I would say your bottom 6 teams, just based off of kind of like scoring a lot. Like, it's not perfect, but you know what I mean? Like, because we have to go week by week. But Danny, Josh, Travis, Sundance, Lumberjacks, and then Rennie would be right there in the middle. You know what I mean? So
I mean,
that's kind of like
anecdotally, I'd be like, man, I feel like I'd be a little higher. Like I have more points than Lee.
Yeah.
So I might.
Yeah, and that's why in the RPI thing that I did, that you're 5th. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where are you in the standings right now?
7.
Yeah, so that's 2 places better,
Yeah.
right? And I'm 2nd, but I'm 4th in the RPI because Brian scored more times, 100 points than me, and he has more points. Adam has more total points than me. We've scored 100 points the same amount of times. So yeah, it's just kind of going, comparing those 2 things. So other than the top 6, bottom 6 get a loss, is there any other kind of ways that they calculate leagues? Is there a rotisserie or something?
I mean, there's I'm sure there's a lot of them. The ones that I kind of saw, they're not really based on that. It's just a different way to do things. One is called the Guillotine League. You ever seen those?
Yeah.
Where I guess it would only really last 12 as many weeks as you have teams, because whoever gets the lowest points in that week, they're out of the league. All their players go in the waivers, and then everybody can pick up all their players and move on to the next week. And so by the end, it gets down to 2 teams and you win. So it's for our league, it would only last 12 weeks or whatever. So that's another one. And then there's another one out there, and I think I mentioned it maybe last year at some point, called Vampire League. Have you ever heard of that one? Mm-hmm. Where
maybe you talked about last year.
11 teams draft like normal, go and pick their players. One team doesn't get to participate in the draft. He has to pick all his players from whoever's left. And then week 1, whoever he plays, if he beats them, he can force a trade of whatever position he wants and pick, like if he wants a certain player on yours.
So it's like Settlers of Catan meets fantasy football. You
a little bit
draw the card where it's like, I get one of your resources.
Say I want, Tyreek Hill from you, then I can give you any of the wide receivers that I started. Has to be somebody I started that week. Yep. And I force you to trade, that player. And then that makes your team a little better. And then the next week, if you win, you can do it with that team. And so
I don't think we could get all 12 of our guys to do it. We may be able to get 8 to 10 of them. Yeah. I don't know.
And I think the problem with that league is, you kind of want to be the vampire sometime, but yet that'd be 12 years, to wait. Like if you only do it once, like if I was the vampire this year and then you weren't, everybody got a turn.
But how do you get it? Maybe the bottom team is the vampire.
Yeah. So you could, but I'm like, if everybody wants a turn to try to be the vampire just to have, fun with it.
So in week 2, so that guy was the vampire week 1. He won and he gets a.
You're that the whole year.
It's only one team that gets to, if they win, they get to force that.
So every week somebody is playing the vampire and at risking losing to them.
Well, and I'm not saying the vampire specifically, but it's almost like with Marvel, like the What If. Like, I wonder if there'd be enough guys in our league that says, okay, we do the traditional league, right? This is like the real one. But I wonder if there'd be enough guys that were like, so like, I know everybody, like Junior said he's got 3 leagues or something like that. Yeah. I know that you're in some from Purdue and stuff like that. Forever, this is it. Like this is the league that I've been in.
Okay.
Right. I've never been in another fantasy football league. So I only manage this one team, what I mean? And so for me, it would be easier to be like, oh, I would do an alternative league with different rules, or kind of like, you know what I mean, follow different things. Like especially if it was with the same group of guys, because then it'd be funny, right? Like kind of like watching two things. But you know, I know that there's guys that are in multiple. Just we were talking about, so we were talking about, like, so out of the 60 matchups, there's still 120 teams that have been active during the 10 weeks. And so 100 points is scored 38.3% of the time.
Okay.
So it's not 50%. So it's like, you know, less than 40% of the time.
Oh, I just thought of another one there. This one's kind of out there. I don't think very many people even do it, but there's these crazy leagues where, say you have a spot, like a normal wide receiver spot, instead of just having like a wide receiver spot, they let them pick like either a running back or a tight end and put in that spot.
What do they call that?
I don't know. It's pretty rare.
Yeah.
It's not used very much, and nobody really talks about it too much, but I've heard of it happening.
So your position is kind of flexible.
That's a good word for it. Yeah. That's kind of hits it right on. So that's out there.
So like where we start, a quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers. You take that third wide receiver spot, and you can kind of like determine what kind of player you want to put in that.
Like you look at your bench and you're like, hey, this week I'd kind of like to start a tight end, 2 tight ends, you know, and I can do that because that spot's flexible in that way. Like word you just came, I think you just made that word up, but it sounds like it's a good word for that spot.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting league.
It would be. I don't know that it's hard to find people, even research or literature about it. Yeah, it's not out there too much.
Yeah, I'm kind of the mindset of stay off my lawn. Let's sing hymns. Let's keep things the same. Vote Republican. No flex. That's just me.
So here's another term I came across this week. Have you ever heard of the term sabotage drop?
No, but I remember in the chat that there was some controversy about people that were like adding and dropping people. Like,
so this is a little different. I guess maybe, I don't think I've ever done this, and if I did, I never put a name to it, or I don't know that anybody in
would this be like me dropping a tight end by the name of Garrett, knowing that he's so bad, hoping that Adam would pick him up and play him, and that he is bad?
I mean, sort of, but the idea is it's somebody, a big name player that you think, you're convinced that he's either about ready to get hurt or his highest score is behind him and he's not going to play good the rest of the season. So you deliberately drop him, and you do it early enough to where somebody that week, you know, so maximum time, somebody could see it and be like, oh, you know, you dropped so-and-so. And they pick them up and, you know, utilize, you know, in ours, it's draft, you know, waiver position.
Yep.
In other leagues where they use money, it costs money to pick, you know, you only have so much. And
so you're kind of forcing somebody's hand to pay into the kitty.
So they waste that. Plus they put them on their team and they start them, and that person does bad. So you deliberately drop somebody with the hopes that somebody picks them up and makes their team worse.
Hey, I'm open for, if at the draft next year we want to talk about kicking in money for every waiver spot, and that goes into a kitty, and somebody wins that, either the league champion or the champion. I'm up for talking about that.
Okay. Yeah, no, like there's fake money too, that you, like, say you're given $30 for the year and
for
you
transactions.
Use it you can bid for waivers, and if I outbid you for 5 instead of going by waiver spot, and then you run out of money, you can only pick up free guys.
Dave, if this week you pick up any of the guys that I've got picked for waivers, I'm going to murder you in your sleep. Okay. And I just let you know that right now.
But like, it was enough of a thing on this article I read about that sabotage drop that people thought that the commissioner should intervene and keep people from doing that. And I'm like, nobody's forcing you to pick that person up. And
especially if it's a name, like the idea of it is that you're like dropping somebody like that you think, oh, I dropped, you know, Latavius Murray. And it's like, you know, it's like, well
like in hindsight, Darren Waller would have been good. Like I would have dropped him, like say week 3. somebody be like, Miller dropped Waller. He was a 5th round pick. And then he did nothing the rest of the season. But I didn't do that until he was actually on IR. But that's that, But even that, like, I don't think
if you were I
don't think I could think of a scenario where I would intervene on something like that.
Well, you intervene in nothing.
I guess so.
Why'd you get so mad when I asked if you were going to draft Waller next year?
Because truth hurts. Because I probably will.
Dude,
because a year goes by and I show up and he's on my piece of paper and he's like there and I'm like, because every year he drops down a little bit and I'm like, oh, valiant.
Can I tell you this right now? And Rennie don't want to hear this, but this is real talk. If I've got a Raider, he's coming off my team because they are that bad. Am I lying?
You have? Oh yeah. Are you getting rid of your kicker?
Oh, that dude's. He scored after being the best kicker in the league for the first 6 weeks, he scored 2 points in the last 3 weeks. That dude's gone.
I don't think he's going to qualify as a sabotage drop because nobody's going to pick up Carlson.
No. All right, Dave, let's get to the matchup for this week. Okay, in the battle of no one could care less, we've got Joe Burr versus the Lumberjacks.
Well, it still means
matters.
It matters to Ed. I mean, it matters. I mean, again, they could win out, the 2, 3, and 7 guys, but
yeah. So the question is always, will Ed get in and fill out a full lineup? I mean, he's right there. He can make the playoffs.
Oh yeah, and I feel like on paper, based on schedules, and if everybody fills out a lineup, he'll stay ahead of Travis if they both get to 7-7.
So let me send a message to Ed right now. And if you care that I do this, I don't really care. Ed, you have a chance to make the playoffs. Please check your team each week. Good luck. I mean, this makes riveting TV, but I just sent that text in real time. So
well, because here's the deal: he plays.
I'm really sorry,
he plays Josh, then he plays Danny. So that's 2 in a row. That gets him 1 win away from, and then he plays Brennan.
Yeah.
So his next 3 games are against the teams that haven't been winning.
Yeah. And I will say this. I mean, I like Ed and I like his team. Jalen Hurts is a great story. This is a week where Ratty's going to blow up.
It might be.
I mean, I'm just Joe Burrow's going to drop 40.
But that's why when I did my thing and I was like, well, Ed could easily pass Travis because he's got 3 weeks in a row where very winnable.
Yeah.
If he's the team that he should, thinks he is. But old Josh is back. He's got Burrow back, right? So
yeah. Ed just texted me back. He's really bummed that Cooper Kupp is out.
Yeah, that does hurt things. And his running back is on bye. That's his main guy, but he wouldn't even do that much last week anyway. But
no, I mean, I think this is a good matchup for Josh. I really do. And so to be able to get to 4-7, I think is good. It'll help Josh more than it hurts Ed. I think that Ed's still got a path to make the playoffs, even if he loses this week. But
and guys like me and Rennie are like, yeah, it'd be kind of nice if some of those guys just kept losing.
Yeah.
We don't want to risk it.
Right. Okay, so then we've got Danny versus Heim time. I mean, dude, I can't even imagine a path for. I mean, Danny's got half his guys on bye.
I mean, if Murray doesn't play again and Brian doesn't put in Cousins or find another quarterback, then maybe.
Yeah, I think Brian knows that he's got a chance to win money here and that he can.
Look at Brian's team though. Like, look who he's got right now and who he's got coming back. Like, he's got. I mean, they're saying now Chase might play week 12 versus Tennessee, which means probably at least week 13. So in 2 weeks he's gonna have even stronger lineup than he does right now.
Yeah. Hear me. That's a big game for Brian. Like, he needs to win that game. Like he's in the win-loss category, he doesn't want to go to 6-5. Okay, even though he's got points, he's been struggling, but he needs to pay attention to his team. The next matchup, though, Rennie versus Lee. This is a huge one. Lee at 7-3, Rennie at 5-5. Like, Rennie doesn't want to drop below 500. We've talked about 500 is that magic number. Okay, you got to be at least at 500. And so, with 4 weeks left, you just don't want to find yourself in a hole, because then you it's like, okay, I got to get back to 500. Then I got to get another win so that I feel like I'm safe, right? So for Rennie, huge game, and against Tennessee, Rodgers is probably a decent play, but man, he's just been he's hurt Rennie all season long.
Yeah, I mean, but then Lee has been chasing quarterback points all season too.
Neither one of these guys, but I trust Lee's wide receivers a little bit more than I trust Rennie's, and Rennie's got the advantage at tight end,
and he's got advantage at running back. Henry and Jacobs are
both although Las Vegas has been terrible and they're playing against Denver.
Yeah,
I mean, they've just struggled to score. So that's a big matchup.
Well, and right now Lee's starting a guy I casted off, and but who knows?
Right.
Rams have been bad too. So
Then we've got off all weekend versus the Sundance Kid. This win means way more to Brennan than it does to Junior, but Junior will find a way to win. So I don't
know. Like,
where Brennan finds the points.
He's missing he's missing Tampa Bay guys. Like, he's gonna have to have like the best pickups of the year.
Yeah. I may wait for Brennan to have to drop some people. I mean, this is that sabotage drop you're talking about. If he could drop like a kicker and some people, then I could pick. No,
that's an advantageous drop, not a sabotage drop.
So,
but yeah, he's definitely, nobody's going to pick up Case Keenum if he drops him.
No.
Robinson becomes kind of intriguing because now he's the number one kind of wide receiver on the Rams, but they suck. So
yeah.
I don't know. I'm sitting there with two decent quarterbacks. Maybe I should trade somebody to Brennan.
Is there anybody that wants to see Junior win again? No.
Junior,
that's it. Yeah. All right. Man, I will call this the biggest matchup of the week.
Yeah, I think so too.
Adam versus Travis. 5-5 teams. Who is Travis for real?
Yeah.
Adam has the advantage because of all the points he scored, but if he has a down week, because he's shown that he can score low in the past. I still trust Adam. I think that he'll put out the best lineup possible. But if Prescott finally gets going, I mean, it's going to be tough against that Minnesota D, I think. But I don't know.
He's left a lot of points on his bench recently, so he's made the wrong choices a little bit. This week he's got some made for him by bye week, so that sometimes helps you.
I mean, you just got to give a huge advantage to Adam. If he gets 40 points a week from Mahomes,
if you look, Prescott tops out at what Mahomes bottoms out. The 30 mark. It's like.
And if we're just looking at like reality, Adam scored 100 or more 5 times.
Yeah.
Travis has scored 100 or more twice. Now, those have been 2 out of the last 3 weeks, but I have a lot more faith in Adam to score high than I do Travis to score high. Basically, because Mahomes can get half his points.
And I don't know that they all go to Kadarius Toney like you were hoping Schuster would get them all.
Yeah. Okay. And then last but certainly not least, it's me versus you. We've got 5-5 Dave versus 7-3 Kevin. I sit in second place. It's a little bit of a charade because my points aren't that high, although last 3 weeks have been 3 great wins. But Dave won this week, scored over 100. So the win would mean a lot more to you than it would to me. But I don't want to drop back and have Lee and then Brian have a chance to jump over me. I don't want to end up, I'd rather end up playing. If I'm on, I'd rather end up playing Travis or somebody in the first round than I would to be in the middle somewhere and have to play a Brian or somebody or a
right now I have you playing Adam at 4 and 5.
Yeah, I don't want to play him again. Okay, Adam, I'll take the win. It was a great win, but if we played 10 times, odds are you're going to win a majority of those. So,
but we both have a lineup hole, and we probably both have some moves we're going to make. So,
yeah, I've got. We're not charging right now for moves, right?
No.
No, that's good because I got like 13 of them. Okay.
Yeah, I got definitely some holes to fill and decisions to make. I mean, you're a smart guy. Who do you pick between Fields and Jackson for quarterback? Does that sound like a rich person problem?
It does, but I probably like the matchup of Jackson versus Carolina more than I do about Fields versus Atlanta. Only because Atlanta's been shown to play some decent defense in the last couple weeks, but I think that Justin has more upside. Jackson has been so inconsistent.
Yeah,
the entire season. I mean, and this is like,
I just feel like
you never know what's going to happen.
Whoever I
what if he hands off to Drake what if he hands off to Drake like 50 times and Drake scores like 5 touchdowns and I put him in the lineup?
Afraid I'm gonna one of them's gonna score 40 and it won't be the one I start. The other one's gonna score 20.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be nice if they both scored 40 and it doesn't even matter?
Nice, but I don't know if that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But I got a bunch of middling wide receivers. I got Singletary scored a bunch of touchdowns on my bench last week, but he probably won't again. So I might flip flop. Who knows what? I got a lot of decisions to make.
I mean, you got to feel good that you're not facing Tua or Hill.
Yeah, that does help a little.
I mean, that's a gem. I mean, I'll just say that.
I'm not a real big fan that Arizona got rid of their backup running back, so now Connor gets all the carries.
Look, I have no running backs. Give me a break, okay? I'll take whatever I can get.
Is Algier going to stay in your starting? Is that your best option? Or are you going to pick up somebody?
He is not my best option. I want to see what happens with Gus Edwards, so I'm keeping an eye on that in Baltimore.
Okay. That's true.
And then I've got,
Dylan's always a chance to do something.
Yeah, so I'm keeping an eye on all of it to see kind of what happens with it.
Regardless of what we just talked about right now, regardless of what we just said right now, there's going to be you're going to have a breakdown that's going to be way different than this here in a couple days.
Yeah. For sure. I'm sorry.
Somehow Tua and Hill are going to score points and it's going to count. I don't know how it's going to happen, but
if we could remove their bye week, it would be incredible because I mean right now that I'm slated that if I don't end up picking up anybody, I'm going to have to start Hardman and Schuster, and neither one of them are guaranteed to play. So.
Well,
that's good for you, bad for me.
It is good for me.
Yeah. So we'll see. Although I don't know if you watched the game last week, Justin Jefferson on his own might score 50 points.
Yeah.
That catch that he made on 4th and 18 was incredible.
Yeah.
And had he got in the end zone, either in regulation or overtime, 2 touchdowns 2 times at least, he was so close. I would have been shirtless in my living room with Mardi Gras beads on, doing this that I sent out to the whole group. I mean, the game wouldn't have been. The fantasy matchup between me and Adam would not have been over. he would have still had multiple guys to go, 3 guys left to go after that game, and I would have called it over. If Jefferson would have scored another touchdown and ended up with like 28 points, I would have been shirtless, partying like this for Adam, because that would have been the most epic thing ever. I mean, I'm happy they won, but dude was like 2 inches away from scoring a touchdown, and then he got pushed out at the 1 in overtime. Ugh. Dave.
All right, we better wrap this up, man. We're at a 10. Well, I guess we didn't. You started. We're not that. It looks like an hour, but it might.
We are long.
Once you cut the fluff.
That's what she said.
Yeah, that's what she. Well, good stuff. Like I like the point thing. That's good to think about. Ready to have my
people are gonna love this, Dave.
My odds are gonna get mocked for sure.
Yeah, right here at the end, Dave. You've frozen again. I'm taking a photo of it. You were fine the whole time, but you just froze. So
what?
Yeah, just here at the end. I don't know what happened. Right now you are, but it was just at the very end. So
okay.
Hey, thank you. Thanks everybody. Meme this photo of Dave if you would. Do me a favor and make sure that you put that on all your Christmas cards. We will see you all next week. Good luck to everyone not named Dave, and we'll catch you next time. Like, subscribe, follow.